Hey everybody, and welcome back to another layout update video. So this may come as a shock, but I'm actually recording a video about a week after the last one, something I haven't done. However, this layout update video is a little bit different than the others that I've put out. So I've got some bad news. I've decided to go ahead and not continue with the VTR GMRC layout build. And there is a multitude of reasons for this, but the biggest reason is the module that you're looking at here. So as you can see, I've removed the bridge, removed some of the track from the interchange crossing. I've been trying to rework this area here, including the track on the lift gate. It has been giving me problems pretty much since I put the track down. I did not execute this part of the build nearly as well as I had hoped, and there are actually 5 pieces of rolling stock that I own that I can't use on the layout because these curves are just too sharp. I didn't do it well, and it's not working out. And I mean, the main reason that I was making this VTR GMRC build was to let 405 run around the layout. The freight operations was just a bonus. So if we take a look here, we can see what I'm working on. So right here is the interchange portion of the layout. Now, this is really where the problems begin. So this is where it goes from Bellows Falls Yard up to a raised main line. Now this was the first mistake that I made. It was the position of where the 90-degree crossing is relative to where the module joint is. Now the trains often derail at this point because of how the tracks join. I didn't execute that part well. And this leads into the second problem. Right on the other side of the interchange, or the 90-degree crossing, is where the tracks start to curve. And they curve very, very tight. It's very, very tight. And that railgun gondola that I bought recently at the train show does not navigate that curve at all. And actually the T-Box boxcar and the ethanol tank cars don't navigate that well at all either. And they actually derail pretty much through the entire S-curve that we can see here. Pretty much the whole thing, especially that portion right near the truss bridge. It just doesn't work. They pop right up off the rails because the curve is just too tight. And this was something that just I tried to work around, and I couldn't do it. I actually, for those who have watched earlier videos, I did redo this portion, and there was an improvement, but it's just not going to work simply because of the space restrictions. In all honesty, this layout was never really going to do well in this 9x9 space, or roughly 9x9 space. So then moving on to the third point of why this isn't really working out is the lift gate. So this was the first time I made a lift gate, and honestly it did turn out better than I had expected. This is actually the second version of the lift gate. The first one was even worse, so I am improving, but the lift gate just doesn't line up, and this is mainly due to some shoddy bench work. I had a piece of lumber that was warped. I tried to correct it by adding a little bit of support, but that end that connects to the left side of that lift gate that you're looking at actually slopes downwards slightly. I believe I'd mentioned this in a previous video, but the lift gate just doesn't line up. I actually have to nudge the module a little bit to one side to be able to lift up the lift gate. It's just not a great experience. And so with that lift gate and this S-curve stuff going on here, and then this portion here, and the main line, or what raises from Bellows Falls Yard to the main line, all of that combined, it's just not working for this space. I started thinking about it, and I just wasn't sure what to do, and I happened to be listening to an episode of Ray Arnott's really fantastic Around the Layout podcast, and he keeps mentioning, and I've actually listened to several episodes over the last few days, he keeps mentioning that if you don't like something, you should redo it or practice and make it better and come back and improve it later. And I'm really taking this to heart because I want the Green Mountain Railroad build to be really well done. I want to be happy with as much of it as possible. And the way that this build has turned out so far, I'm just not there yet as a modeler. And the Green Mountain Railroad is so true to my heart. I mean, it's the railroad that got me interested in trains from, I think I was 3 or 4 when I rode the train for the first time. That layout has to be done to the best of my ability. And I'm just not there yet. So with that being said, what I want to do is I'm going to convert this layout that I'm working on into I don't want to say generic, but a simple industrial switching layout. I have a couple ideas. I figured I'd run them by you. Let me know what you think in the comments. So the first thing that I'm thinking of doing to sort of revamp this layout is just getting rid of the liftgate. Doesn't line up. It's a pain in the butt. I could try to tinker with it a little bit and get it to work, but I just don't think it's going to work. So I'm thinking I would get rid of that. And that would leave the rest of the layout, so it would be a point-to-point switching layout. And I've got some ideas for a track plan, or I should say I've got the track plan already. I have some ideas for the industries and new industries and that sort of thing. And that'll be another video. Basically, what I want to do is make this a point-to-point switching layout, interchange on one side, and some operations on industries on the other, and kind of go from there. So on to the next thing, the S-curve. The track, all of that's got to go. It's obviously not working, right? The trains can't go through it. Got to redo it. So I'm going to toss that, and I'm going to go with something slightly different. So the piece of flex track that you see in front of you is sort of representing what I'm thinking of doing. So since this is going to be a point-to-point layout now, I'm going to use this module that has the canal to represent an industry, or at least this is the plan so far. So where the truss bridge is located right now, I'll have some kind of an industry there adjacent to the canal. And then what I'm going to do is I'm no longer going to use the truss bridge. One, because it didn't turn out the way I wanted with weathering and painting. But 2, it's not going to work with the orientation anymore of the track, right? It's not going to fit into those concrete grooves that I've created in the foam. So I'm thinking I'm either going to create another stone arch bridge like I did with the foam, or I might do like a wooden trestle. Again, another idea, not sure, but I'm thinking about it. So if we follow this track, we'll see where I'm going to have it connect. So it's going to be a nice ease into the curve. And it's going to connect to this spur track that's next to the railgun gondola. It's going to curve into that, so that'll no longer be a spur, but that's actually going to be, well, I guess it will be a spur, but it's going to be much longer, and it's going to wrap around the corner and go to that industry next to the river. And then the other part where the main line is currently located, that's just going to be sort of the tail end of a runaround. I don't know if I'm going to have it cross the module joint or not. I need to kind of configure that detail. But if it does, it's only going to cross maybe 6 inches or so to give a little bit more lead room for a locomotive, maybe 1 or 2 cars for the runaround. And then that obviously ties into what I'm going to do with the main line. So this being a raised main line, the S-curve portion is going to go. I'm going to need to get rid of the portion that transitions from the yard track to the main line. So this is all going to level out and be all one long lead, one long spur to an industry of some sort or another. Again, I don't know what that's going to be, but I think it'll be interesting having the industry there, having the platform over here in the yard, and then having the ethanol plus the construction company, which will no longer be M&M Construction, it'll be something else. I'll have 3 to 4 industries that I can work on the layout, and I think that should provide a lot of operational interest. So that pretty much sums up the changes that I want to make to the layout. Obviously, this is not ideal. A week ago, I didn't think I was going to get to this point, but after thinking about it and after listening to Ray Arnott's podcast and hearing what he had to say, it really hit me. And I was like, you know what? He's right. I need to redo this layout and make it the way I want it. And right now is not that time. The GMRC build really deserves to be built in the best way possible. My skills just aren't there yet. And that's okay. I'm going to continue to work on this switching layout, or soon to be switching layout, and go from there. I'm sure this is disappointing to many of you. It certainly is to me. I didn't think I was going to get to this point, but here we are. I'm going to keep making videos about this layout. I need to take some time, obviously, to adapt the plans a little bit and figure out what I'm going to do, but then I'll start reposting videos. So I'm hoping that you will follow me along as I continue on my model railroading journey. Thanks for watching.